Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news. Welcome to another edition of Hometown Heroes on Family Life. I'm your host, Bill Price. Our guest this week, Jake Hannon from Buffalo. He's on the front lines of faith and sport in Western New York. It's called Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so FCA is, many would say, the world's largest sports ministry. We have over 2,000 staff in over 100 countries now. Started in 1954 by a guy named Don McClellan, who saw that professional athletes like Jackie Robinson and others were being asked to endorse a bunch of different things. And many athletes were endorsing cigarettes and other products. And he said, what would it look like for these athletes to use their platform to endorse Jesus? And then FCA kind of morphed into what it is now today, and it really just took root, especially in the South, in the Bible Belt.
You look at local athletes today, Jake, what concerns you, what excites you?
The Barna Group released studies on the least Bible-minded cities in the country, and Buffalo's on the top 10 list, unfortunately. And so we're in a place where I guess you would say there's a lot of religion, but not much Bible literacy and Bible knowledge. You know, I spent some time in Lynchburg, Virginia at Liberty University and have traveled around in the South, and I talked to my colleagues on FCA staff in the South. It's a different environment. It's much more socially acceptable to be a Christian or to start a Christian group on your campus. And so here in Western New York, I guess the challenge for a lot of the athletes is having that fellowship and feeling very alone. But I guess what excites me about that is that the ones that are stepping out here in Western New York are really on fire for the gospel.
What are the student athletes, Jake, telling you? Are you seeing some common themes? I know COVID's a huge issue, but a lot of struggles these young kids are bearing. And what are they sharing?
Loneliness and mental health are definitely huge issues. For most of the athletes that we've encountered, they have a solid foundation, but they kind of don't know what to do. And high school is that crazy age where you are beginning to explore, and that's where you start making a lot of choices for yourself for the first time. And so,
well, you touched on it there, mental health. And of course, Simone Biles in the news with what she did at the Olympics. Some kind of said she maybe quit on her team. Others are calling her a hero. When you look at mental health, especially with young kids, and then you can narrow that down to young athletes, can you talk about the pressure to perform, to win, the pros and the cons of that?
Whether it's a sport or any profession, there's always temptation to find your identity in what you do. And I think without Christ, that's the only option, really. You know, you're trying to make people proud. You're trying to make your coaches proud. You're trying to make your parents proud. You're trying to make the world around you proud. That's ultimately, it's counter to the gospel because he performed for us. And that's the whole point of the gospel. And it's very easy for even myself I've fallen into that so many times as a Division I hockey player. And
are you concerned that we're kind of creating a generation of weak-minded people, or am I off base here?
That's a great question. I think our country is changing, and I think that some of the values that some generations have had of hard work and of really just obedience are fading in some ways. And I think that that's bad in many ways. And I think as Christians and as leaders in sports, it's like, how do we adapt to that? And how do we still retain some of those values that we can't afford to lose? The coaches that I had, that would never have even been an option, you know, like you wouldn't be on the team.
As a coach, the winning is what I'm consumed about. That's why it's so nice to see organizations like Fellowship of Christian Athletes. You guys go much deeper than the X's and O's. You go for the soul. And talk about, Jake, why faith is so vital when it comes to athletics in sports. Why does it matter?
It matters everywhere, and I think sports are just another platform that we can use. We can use sports. Sports provide so many great lessons. Anyone should be involved in sports to some capacity because you're going to learn character, you're going to learn teamwork, you're going to learn to have integrity, you're going to develop mental toughness. In the midst of those lessons, God is present. Sports is just one little microcosm of life with God, and it's really neat when we get to use the opportunities that sports present to be able to integrate our faith. It's a really neat opportunity.
That's Jake Hannon from Buffalo, this week's Hometown Hero. Join us next week as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.